Hi, I'm Rachel Morgan, a retail sales coach that works with retail business owners in order to increase their sales, improve their sales performance, and also improve their customer satisfaction. Today, I'm going to chat about what it means to have an effective product suite, something that is so important when it comes to selling a product, especially because we want to know, does our customer actually want what we're selling? So I invited Krystal Vernee here with me, who is a serial entrepreneur, author, speaker, business coach, and brand strategist to come speak with us. It truly embodies what it means to have an effective product suite. And I couldn't imagine a better person to have this conversation with. So just to give you a little bit more about Krystal, through her business coaching and brand strategy firm, Simply She, Krystal teaches coaches and consultants how to monetize their expertise and create multiple income streams so that they can build a profitable and sustainable business. I am so excited for this conversation, and I can't wait for you guys to get some good gold nuggets from it. I know that she personally manages multiple businesses, so and if you have any questions, make sure to share them with us. We'll be happy to answer them.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hello. Welcome.
Yes.
I can. Can you hear me okay? Wonderful. Well, welcome, Krystal. So excited to have you here. I would love if you could tell us
Yeah,
really quickly,
absolutely.
where
Thanks
are
so
you
much for
from?
having me, Rachel. I'm from Maryland, so East Coast. Yeah.
Yes, opposite side. I love it. Of where I'm from. Yes. So tell us, like, before we even dive into what an effective product suite is, tell us about the different businesses that you operate. So I'm
Oh, thanks
impressed
so much. So I
how
have
many
a
you have.
few. I'll start with my baby, the longest running one, Divas and Dolls Fitness. That's my pole and sensual dance studio. Been running that one for we're going on year 10, actually. And then I have Cirque Sensual, which is a
Nice.
sister brand to my studio, and that focuses on aerial arts. So if you're familiar with Cirque du Soleil, that is kind of what we're doing there, focusing on sensual performing arts. And then I have Simply She, or Simply Slay Hard Every Day, which is my coaching business and consulting firm. That's why I work with coaches and consultants. And I have a personal brand, Krystal Vernee, my personal brand. And I brand myself as a speaker, author, and a coach.
Oh my gosh. Just hearing you speak again, I'm like, wow, how does she have time for any of this? I'm like sincerely impressed, but I know that you're not the only one. And if you're like, it's incredible what you've been able to create by having simply
Yeah.
the right product, right? And knowing what people need. Um, so I would love to know, like, where should someone like go when they want to create a product suite? Like, what are your
Yeah.
needs? Like, what are the
So
essentials?
typically when I work with clients, we reverse engineer their product suite. So I think the first thing, of course, you're going to start with is your zone of genius, which is what I tell people all the time. You typically have everything that you need
Mhm.
in order to be able to create the right product. And when I think of product, it's not just a physical product, it's also something that is digital or intangible. So for me, that all those things encompass a product. But start with your zone of genius, things that you already know how to do, since we're talking about the digital space right now. So that's what you have training in, knowledge, expertise, talent in. You want to start
Right.
there and make a list of those things and kind of see what really makes sense and what you actually can lead a transformation in, or something that can provide a transformation to someone else or provide value to
Right.
someone else. That's where you really want to start.
Right. Well, I think that's great. I like reverse engineering. It's a really good tactic because you're like, here's
Mm-hmm.
the end goal, but how am I going to get myself there? It's not always just about um what path do I need to take. Like, I think a lot of us start from the beginning and work towards the end instead of
Right.
working from the end to the beginning. Um, I also would say it's really like, oh, okay. So maybe you can answer this. Why would it be important to have a product suite in the first place? I think many of us think, okay, well, I have this one product, especially as a coach or a consultant, depending on who's listening. I have this one product, I sell this one product, I can get customers to buy, but why
Yeah,
would it be so
yeah,
important to have
that's a
multiple
great
products?
question. And frankly, something that really surprised me when I actually did enter the online space and I saw that that was a thing, like one product. Let me just say this: no thriving business or brand has one
Right.
product. Let's just start with that. Let's start But it's really important because you want to be able to serve your clients at multiple levels. And I know that when we talk about that one product, we're typically talking about something that's a higher
Mm-hmm.
ticket offer. People just sometimes they're not ready for that
Mm-hmm.
particular product or that particular transformation. And it is possible for you to serve clients at different levels. Also,
Mm-hmm.
it really does provide you multiple income streams, which increases the stability of your business, which I think is one of the most important things. Having one
Mm-hmm.
revenue stream in your business could literally be the death of your business. And not to scare anyone, but but to me, revenue streams are like legs on a stool, right? So the more legs that you have on your stool, the sturdier it will be. If your stool has one leg, first of all, it doesn't stand up. So that's, you know, you want to think about it like that. The more
Right.
legs that you have, the sturdier it's going to be. And if you, let's say you have 10 legs, if one leg gets wiped out, your stool will still be standing. So your business will still be standing. I think that's one of the most important things.
Right. What's coming up for me too is that term,
Yeah.
don't put all of your eggs in one basket, right? Don't rely on that one approach. So how, like, would you, and I mean, I guess from like a sales perspective too, like, how do you expect to have like client
Yeah.
retention if you have one offer? Like, there's like that same client is not going to sign up for the same thing again, right? That you need to take them to that next level, to that next thing. And we also see this a lot
Mm-hmm.
in fashion if we're talking about product based, right? Like I think of all these designer brands that have multiple different like stores, right, to cater to different clients so that they can all come in at the brand at different price
Right.
points but still feel a part of it. And so I felt like you kind of were talking about that as well. So that's it, kind of a good way to think about it too, is like, how do you bring in different people at different points on their journey in order to work with you that want to work
Absolutely.
with you?
And I love that you mentioned client retention. I think that's one of the main things that comes up for me a lot. And anytime I'm like thinking or brainstorming, how can I do things better or serve my clients more, client retention is always at the forefront. And if you have continuous ways to provide your clients or your customers with value, they'll continue to come back. And if we talk about like how someone gets to know
Mm-hmm.
your brand, they see the name of your brand or they see an ad or whatever for the very first time, doesn't mean that they're going to purchase with you, right? We know that it takes about 7 to 10 times for people to actually make a purchase. And so a
Right.
lot of times they're not going to make the large purchase because they're not quite sure at like what
Mm-hmm.
level of product they're going to receive from you. So, it's always good to have like different price points or different ways for people to do business so they can get a taste of what it's like to work with you. And then they're more likely to say, well,
Mm-hmm.
if I purchase this thing and it was awesome, I definitely will be making sure that I get the next thing that they offer.
Right. 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 It's like a bite-sized way of working with you if
Right.
they're not ready to do the full way, right? Or maybe they want to continue being in your sphere, right? You have other options for them to do that aren't so
Right.
one-on-one potentially, right? Um, so on that note, when you're creating multiple products, do you think that they should be
That's
related
a
or
great
different?
question. I think that all of your products should complement one another, but should stand alone. So we talk about like bundles and
Mm-hmm.
things like that. I think that's where the reverse engineering really comes in for me because I want to make it make sense for my
Mm-hmm.
ideal client. So they can purchase something and still gain value from that alone, but together it's more
Right.
powerful. If someone goes with me from beginning to end, they're going to
Mm-hmm.
receive the most value. Nothing will be wasted, so to speak, and they'll continuously receive little transformations
Yeah.
as they go up. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important to make sure everything is complementary, but not necessarily like random. I don't believe in randomness. I think that's kind of where you get into trouble.
So, okay, question for you again. I think that a lot of entrepreneurs are like, well, I have this idea, I know what it needs to be, but they don't always actually know what the client or customer actually wants. Like they struggle with, well, will this work? Do they actually need it? How do I know? Right. So what would you recommend someone that's maybe a little lost on, well, I don't even know where to start to begin with. I don't know. I
Mm-hmm.
really don't know what they want
Well,
and
that's where
need.
market research would come in. Always a fan of market research, and I tell my clients the
Right.
same thing. I know that they hear it, they don't want to do it, but I'm telling you, it's the most important thing that you could ever do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, again, if these billion-dollar brands, Coca-Cola, Nike, Apple, I mean, Apple lets us build our own products.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like literally, if they can spend
Yeah.
like millions and billions of dollars on customer research or market research, then why can't you spend the time to talk to your ideal clients and really figure out what it is that they want? So, survey your existing community, use your social media
Mm.
channels, ask the questions, really talk to your people, and don't do it in a salesy way. Just have the
Mm-hmm.
conversation. I find out so much about what my ideal clients need just by having conversations with them. And it's not a
Yeah.
sales conversation. It's truly just me like wanting to understand what are some of the challenges that they're facing, and maybe how can I, create something that's actually going to be a solution and not just more stuff. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Right, right. You don't want something out there just to be out there. You want it to be out there so that it makes a difference for someone. And I love that you brought up all these other brands, these larger brands like Apple, because they're absolutely doing market research as well. That is not just an online space thing. That is something that is continuously going on and testing new things and through client surveys and feedback and focus groups and listening. I mean, social media is, like you said, is huge. I was just doing some research recently on the retail industry, and actually that's a really huge thing, is these brands tapping into their social media and like literally observing what people are saying and how they're using
Mm-hmm.
their products in order to better understand consumer needs and behaviors and wants and desires. And so I love that you brought that up so that it doesn't feel so small. It's actually like a really
Mm-hmm.
big strategy many companies use
Absolutely.
that work
And
well.
I love that you brought up the retail space. It's not a coincidence that they ask you like to take a picture on what you're wearing or show us what you're doing in this outfit because that actually
Yeah,
helps them better design the clothes.
right,
So if I get an opportunity, I actually always like to
right.
participate in stuff like that because I think it's fun typically, and I know that I'm helping.
Mm,
So
right, right, right. Right. And I think of that too, like with the retail space, or just a product-based business, like they obviously have products that they're selling, right? So it shouldn't be
right.
that different with the service-based either. There's like, so I would be curious, like, what are some good things, like products for a service-based business to sell
Yeah, so
besides just their
coaching is
coaching?
just one thing, guys. Like we're in the age of digital, right? So like there's courses, there's ebooks, there's workbooks, there's
Yeah.
video trainings, there's audio trainings, there's
Mm,
podcasts, exclusive podcast episodes, there's memberships, there's combinations of
mm-hmm,
all of those things, workshops, VIP days, just so many different things
mm,
that you
mm.
can create a product out of. So
I love that you said podcast VIP because I've actually seen someone do that, and I've never seen that before, where there's literally a podcast
hmm
episode dedicated to paying clients. And I thought
yeah,
that's so out of the box.
I think in today's world where we have access to so much information, and it's like, how can I reach my clients where they are? And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's in the car, it's
Mm-hmm.
on their way to work. And what better way? Most people say that they
Yeah,
listen to podcasts, I think, on their commute or when they're working out.
yeah,
So, I mean, why not create something just for your paid community where they can hear you? Don't have to sit in front of their computer or feel like they have to be in a space where they have to have video, and that's going to give them value. And if you connect it to something that you're doing inside your community,
yeah.
I mean, I think that increases the value so much more.
I love that. Everything you're saying, I'm like, yes, like meet customers where they are, literally in their car. why why ignore them there? That's an opportunity. Gosh, I was just thinking about something. Oh, and maybe you would agree with this too, is we often look to others, but they're already creating,
hmm
like, okay, I have to mimic them. Like I see them doing this, it means I should be doing that as well. And I think you can get really lost in that. And I think that what happens is just because someone else is doing something doesn't mean that it's the right approach or that's what people want. Maybe the behaviors are changing and that those other people haven't taken the time to actually do the market research and see what's happening. And so I think that this is a really good opportunity personally for you to see and just learn for yourself and then create something from that and try not to be like others. I mean, I think of Apple again, like all these companies that saw an opportunity because they didn't want to be like anybody else. And they created this amazing product that's been a game changer.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
That's so spot on. Like, I can't even tell you, like, I think Rachel, I just vibe on a different level, guys. So, I mean, like, I tell people all the time, do not copy. It might seem like a good idea, but you just never know what's going on behind the scenes. You don't know what the strategy is, even if there even is one. Also, you might not even be at that level because most people, I feel like, copy like big brand name folks that they see, not understanding all the different strategies that needs to be in place behind the scenes to actually make what they're doing work. And so then they get frustrated because they're not seeing the results on that end. And also, a lot of times when I start to talk with clients, what they're doing doesn't even match their zone of genius. So you're doing something you actually don't know how to do, or you're trying to sell that and it's coming off as inauthentic. So
you know, admittedly, I've been there too, where I'm like, I felt like I had to do something and I didn't really talk about it or like pursue it because I'm like, this doesn't feel right. Like, I don't feel comfortable talking about it. So it held me back. And I know I'm not the only one that's felt like that too. So you're spot on about that too.
I can't tell you how many people I see. And I think it's because it's so easily accessible in the online space for you to see all those things. We're like flooded with those images, and we don't feel comfortable with what we have and what gifts that we have on the inside. I'm just like, you have a zone of genius. You have something that people want and they would pay for, but you just have to have the confidence in order to be able to put that in the forefront, because I think it's very easy to get lost in, you know, the success of others and where they are 10, 15 years down the line, and it's like your day two, you know what I mean? So I think, you know, I think it's just really important to kind of stick with what you know. You know, like you said, Apple has innovated because they didn't want to be like anybody else. And so you shouldn't be like anyone else. Be like you.
Right. And I just want to say the Darren Shaw DSNLP, thank you. He said, or they said, wow, so glad I came across this live today. So I'm glad that you're here too. And, you know, if anyone that's listening has questions, you know, definitely put them in the comment section. We'd be happy to address them. I want to circle back to Apple for a second because they're a really interesting case study. And I love a good case study because I think that it helps you see the strategy of a business and helps like you with creativity too. So first of all, I'm going to bounce around with ideas here. I'm going to circle back. So when it comes to Instagram, truly today, I hate scrolling because everything looks the same. And so when someone is bold and different and wants to take a different approach and has different products, it's going to really catch my interest now. So I would say what you need to say and do what you need to do and go against the grain. And with Apple, I would say, you know, we mentioned this earlier, client retention. You know, a lot of us are thinking, well, why do I need client retention? I'm getting clients already. Like, it doesn't matter if I get them back. But studies are showing that you actually make more money as a result of client retention, and it's easier to close. So you're selling, you're not like selling as hard, and it's more fun and it's easier. And so when I think of Apple, I'm like all over the place here. I've got like so many ideas. I feel like we could have a whole nother live on this, but there's a principle called Pareto principle. I think we've talked about this, right? 20% of your clients do 80% of your business. And to me, Apple understands that and knows who their 20% is, and they know what they want, and they're thinking ahead. So when they come out with a new product, they're literally catering to their existing client base to get them to come back and buy, right? And I don't think we think about that enough with our product suite. And how do we really cater to the people that love us, rave about us, want to come back to work with us, and keep creating products to get them to
absolutely.
do so, right?
I think people think about, we talk about market research. People like feel like that's a point in time. Market research is never over, guys. It's never over. You're always you always should keep your ear to the ground and always have a beat on what your community wants and what they're doing and where they're going to learn different things. You want to mix in the same circles that they mix in to get a better understanding of them, because things are going to change. the way that that we do business today is not going to look the same in 10 years, right? So you have to constantly be in research mode in order to grow your business. That's the first thing. But I think it really is also to strategically thinking through what you're offering, why you're offering it, and then also to on your products, how can you make that relationship longer? So like one of the things that I when I work with my clients, whether they're coaching or consulting, I work with them on actually making their coaching programs renewable. And I know that that is not necessarily a common thing in the coaching industry. I encourage it. And it's really all about the way in which you develop the product. So it's kind of like if you create these products that encourage turning and burning, like once I coach you, I'm done with you, the relationship's over.
Right.
That, you know, ultimately that increases your hustle, which I'm not really a fan of doing, but it also doesn't increase the value of that relationship you have with that client. And it's all about what you put in your programs and your other offers, and how can that person continuously receive value after they've taken it once, twice, three, like however many times. Like how can you make it more valuable? And I think we don't think enough around that. You know what I mean? So I definitely work with my clients on that. I think it's having a perspective in a different industry that has me thinking that way.
Yes.
And since I'm like, why aren't we trying to keep our clients longer? Like I want people to be with me for as long as possible. And yes, they will continue to get value, because where you were yesterday won't be where you are today or 5 years from now. And you have a different lens when you go through my program, or you go through it a second time. You understand, you have a better understanding. So the questions you even ask to me should be different. So, you know, I think we need to think more strategically around how we can do that as a service-based industry.
Yeah, I mean, that's perfectly well said. I can think of so many different membership programs, coaching, things like that just end. There's nothing beyond it. And it doesn't mean that people don't want more, or, you know, by the time they're done with you, they're at a different stage. And what else can you provide them? Maybe you're not the right answer, right? But there's opportunity, right? And you have to think bigger. And I agree. I think you're not looking to retain your clients, you're leaving a lot of money on the table, because if they're not buying from you, they are going to buy from someone else. Always, right? I don't know about you, but I worked with multiple coaches because there weren't offers beyond that, right? And also I think it's good to learn from others, like, you know, the interdisciplinary coaches and backgrounds and things, but there was nothing beyond that. It just ended. So I think you make a great point. I mean, I used to work in jewelry, right? And so when you could sell someone one item, or why wouldn't you sell them more to go with it for future occasions or to add to it? Like it's the same concept here too. Like, why just sell them the one time? They've already come in, you've already won them over, they already know what you're about, you know what they're about, you know exactly what's happening, right? Why wouldn't you? It would be like the easiest sale. You just have to
or they tell you, can you do this, or can you do something, can you do a workshop on this, or can you have a program around this? And it's like, does it make sense for me to do? Like sometimes things don't make sense, you know what I mean? But sometimes they do, and you know, you keep a running list of those things, you put it together, and you give them literally what they're asking for. I think that's another way to go about it. They will tell you.
Yeah. I think that's the thing too, is like we're like afraid to ask, right? But people will tell you if you just ask. Like I think we're all human, and it feels genuine. Like they know when it's coming from a place that's authentic, right? And I love this too. I just want to say that Darren Shaw, you also said, I'm gonna go create a bigger product suite. I love it. Watch me. Yes. I love it. I'm glad that you're so inspired. Well, Krystal, gosh, is there anything else that we need to know when it comes to product suite and retention and growing our business?
I think we pretty much covered the gamut, but I just, you know, I want to end on just saying, always like keep your client in mind. Always keep your client in mind, and it's not about you. And I think as experts, especially in the service-based industry, we get caught up in our expertise. Expertise is how we're able to provide the transformation. But at the end of the day, It really is about the client. And so I think a lot of times we end up putting out
Right.
products that are more for us than they are for the client. So
Yes.
always keep your client in mind, because I promise you, what I would put out is what my ideal clients would want or need right now. So if that makes sense, like how I would do it. So if that gives anyone any solace at all, I hope it does. But just keep your clients in mind when you're creating your products and services for your business.
Right. I love that. It's
Yes.
creating a customer-centric focus. Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Well, Krystal, how can people find you if they want to know more and they want to ramp up and
Yes.
improve
You
their
guys
product
can find
suite?
me, of course, on Instagram. I'm at I_simply_she. Facebook as well at I_simply_she, and LinkedIn at Krystal Vernee.
Love it. I love it. And you'll be tagged in here as well so anyone can follow along. So, well, thank you so much for being here and for chatting with us. There were so many gems dropped. I love the reminder that it's not about you, it's about your customer. And also the reminder to constantly be doing market research and listening for opportunities. So thank you so much
Thanks for
being
having
here and sharing
me.
your
This is so
expertise.
fun.
Oh,
All right.
my pleasure. All
Thank
right.
you.
Well,
Have
I'll
a good
chat
one.
soon. Thank you.
Bye.
You too.